Sometimes the loudest scream is silence from someone who used to care. Let that sink in for a second, because the truth is, folks, people don't remember the noise you made when you were hurting. They remember the silence that followed when you finally got tired of explaining yourself. That's what haunts them. Not your begging, not your paragraphs, not your "I miss you" texts at 2 a.m. What really echoes in their soul is the moment you went cold, calm, gone. And that's what this is about today. Ignore them until it haunts them. Emotional scarcity isn't a punishment, it's a power move. Hey folks, imagine this. There's a well in the desert, the only one for miles. People crawl to it, desperate, thirsty, obsessed, because they know it's rare. But imagine if that same water was just flowing everywhere, free and constant. No one would value it. No one would even stop to taste it. That's you. That's your energy. That's your presence. When you're always available, always responding, always checking in, you become background noise. But the second you pull back, boom, suddenly you're the oasis, and they're crawling again, haunted by the emptiness they used to ignore. We've been lied to, my friends. Told that love means being always there, always giving, always chasing. But love without self-respect is slavery. You don't win people by over-explaining your worth. You win when your absence starts asking questions they can't answer, when your silence becomes the mirror they can't look away from. See, some of you are still pouring your heart out to people who treat your presence like it's disposable. You keep thinking, maybe if I say this one thing, maybe if I show how much I care, maybe they'll finally appreciate me. But folks, let me be real with you. They don't appreciate what's always available. Nobody does. Emotional abundance without boundaries doesn't make you a lover. It makes you a doormat. I'm not telling you to be cruel. I'm telling you to be rare. There's a big difference. When you ignore them, you're not playing games. You're protecting your energy. You're saying, if you don't know how to value me, you don't get access to me. That's not revenge. That's emotional self-defense. And trust me, nothing messes with someone's ego more than being shut out from what they thought they had forever access to. They start to spiral. They overthink. They scroll through old messages. They stalk silently. They check your page, hoping you're still orbiting them. But you're not. You've gone still, gone silent, gone sovereign. You've stopped bleeding energy into people who only knew how to take, and that's when it haunts them. So, from now on, stop feeding ghosts with your attention. Cut the cord. Let your silence speak volumes. And if they come back knocking, don't answer out of weakness. Let them knock. Let them echo. Because when they realize they lost access to something rare, that's the kind of regret that doesn't just fade, it lingers. You want them haunted? Then vanish with purpose. You don't have to slam the door. Just walk away and lock it quietly from the other side. So here's your affirmation today. I choose silence. Type it in the comments right now to remind yourself, to show the world and to show them you're no longer the background music in their life. You're the silence they can't forget. Hit that like button, subscribe if this hit you in the chest, and stay with me, because what's coming next will change how you see yourself forever. Number 1, the scarcity isn't for her, it's for you. If you're always available, you're never valued, but when you disappear, they start remembering everything they once ignored. That's the law of emotional gravity, my friends. The moment you stop orbiting them, they finally look up and realize the sun is gone. But here's the twist. This isn't about hurting her. It's about healing you. It's not about revenge. It's about revelation. When you start ignoring them, not to punish but to protect, you trigger something powerful, scarcity. And scarcity makes people pay attention. Scarcity makes people panic. Scarcity makes people regret. But most importantly, scarcity resets your own value. Let me ask you something honest. Why are you so afraid to pull back? Why do you keep pouring your energy into someone who's already stopped sipping from your cup? Is it fear? Fear that if you disappear, they'll never come back. Fear that if you go silent, they'll forget you existed. That's the lie you've been living with, that your presence is what keeps them close. But what if I told you it's your absence that makes them feel you the most? Picture this. A man gives his love like a free fountain in the middle of a busy street. People walk by, splash their faces, maybe take a sip, but they don't stop. They don't cherish it. But then one day, the fountain shuts off. The water disappears. Suddenly, people are staring at that same spot, remembering how refreshing it used to be, how they never noticed until it was gone. That's how emotional scarcity works. It forces value through absence. It makes what once felt endless now feel irreplaceable. See, folks, you've been conditioned to think that loving someone means being available, being reachable, being endless in your efforts. But let's crush that belief right now. Endless love without boundaries isn't romantic. It's exhausting, and eventually it becomes invisible. The more you give without requiring anything in return, the more they treat your presence like background noise. You're always there until you're not. And when you're not, that's when the story changes. That's when they look back and realize they took your consistency for granted. But that silence, that sudden lack of access, it hits differently. It makes them question. Why isn't he calling? Why did he stop trying? Who has his attention now? And that mental loop, it doesn't fade. It feeds itself. That's the haunting. Not your words, not your explanation, just your disappearance, like you took the oxygen out of their room, and now they're gasping for something they thought would always be there. But here's the thing, going silent won't be easy, especially not at first. Your emotions will scream. Your instincts will beg you to reach out just one more time. Your mind will replay every moment, every memory, trying to convince you that breaking the silence means hope. But what you're feeling isn't truth, it's withdrawal. You're not missing her, you're missing the version of you that used to be attached to her validation. That's the hardest part, learning to separate your emotions from your reality. Let me give you something to hold on to. Scarcity is not cruelty. It's clarity. You're not ignoring them because you hate them. You're ignoring them because you've started to love yourself. And self-love doesn't chase people who keep walking away. Self-love doesn't beg for attention. Self-love doesn't make itself cheap just to stay seen. I know it's hard. You want closure. You want answers. You want some kind of emotional refund for everything you gave. But here's the brutal truth. You're not going to get it from them. You're going to get it from silence, from growth, from the version of you that rises in the background while they're still trying to figure out why they feel so empty. Your absence is your loudest evolution. Think of every time you sent a message they didn't answer, every time you opened up and got dismissed, every time you stayed while they slowly drifted. All of that wasn't love. That was self-abandonment dressed as loyalty. You thought if you just held on longer, tried harder, gave more, they'd finally choose you. But the truth is, people don't choose what they don't fear losing. They only wake up when you go ghost. When you stop pouring, stop bleeding, stop being available for someone who never matched your energy. You don't need to post a quote, block them, or make some grand speech. You just go silent. You disappear with grace. No drama, no storm, just distance, cold, deliberate distance. And you start investing all that energy back into the one person who actually needs it, you. Start building, start creating, start healing. Let them wonder, let them scroll, let them feel the weight of your absence. And don't do it for them, do it for you. Because you deserve to know what it feels like to not constantly be depleted, to not constantly perform for someone who only claps when they feel like it. So if you've ever felt ignored, undervalued, or taken for granted, this is your moment. Reclaim your scarcity. Make your presence rare again, because when you become rare, you become powerful. And when you become powerful, they don't forget you. They feel you. Every day, in every silence, in every moment they realize they can't reach you anymore. Write this in the comments right now. I protect my presence. Say it with your chest. Show it to the world. Show it to yourself. Let them feel what it's like to lose access to something sacred. And if you're ready to go even deeper into this mental shift, stay with me, because in the next section, we'll expose why your reaction is their addiction and how ignoring that bait makes you untouchable. Number 2, the reaction is their addiction. They don't crave your love, they crave your reaction, because your reaction tells them they still have control. That line might sting a bit, but it needs to, because this is where most people get trapped, thinking the other person is drawn to their heart, when in reality they're just feeding off their emotional reflexes. Folks, let's not sugarcoat this. Some people don't want your love, they want your buttons. They want to know they can still push them and make you flinch, cry, break, or beg. They want to feel powerful at your expense. You ever notice how just when you start pulling away, they throw out a little bait? A vague text, a story view, a random "I miss us." Not because they want you back, but because they want your attention. They want to know you're still in orbit, that you're still watching, still hurting, still attached. That's not love, that's control. And every time you take the bait, you give them the hit they're looking for, like a junkie desperate for the next fix. But instead of drugs, it's your emotion that gets them high. Imagine your emotional energy is like a bank account. Every time you react, you're making a withdrawal. But who's getting rich off it? Not you. Them. They spend your energy while you stay emotionally bankrupt. And the worst part? You know the pattern, but it's so familiar, so addictive, that breaking it feels impossible. But you have to, because as long as they can reach into your chest and flip a switch, they own you. Not in a romantic way, in a psychological way. You might be thinking, but what if I don't respond? Won't they think I don't care? Let me be clear. You not responding is the strongest message you can send. Silence isn't indifference. Silence is dominance. It tells them you see through the game and you're no longer playing. And trust me, that gets louder than any "I miss you" ever could. Most people are addicted to chaos. The arguments, the drama, the late-night guilt trips and emotional roller coasters. It becomes a routine, a dance. But the moment you stop dancing, the music stops playing. They're left with silence, and silence makes them face themselves. That's the part they truly fear. Because if you're not reacting, they have to sit with their own choices. And that's not comfortable for someone who was using you as a mirror to avoid themselves. You ever wonder why they test you with mixed signals? Why they pull you close only to push you away again? Because they're trying to measure your temperature. They want to know, does he still care? Can I still get a rise out of him? When you lash out, when you plead, when you show pain, that's their confirmation. That's their proof that they still have space in your mind. But when you don't blink, don't flinch, don't even look twice, that's when they panic. Here's the shift you need to make. Stop being emotionally available to people who only show up to check if they still matter. That's not love. That's ego validation. And your energy is too sacred to be a playground for someone else's insecurities. Your reaction is a gift. Start treating it like one. Not everyone deserves to know how you feel. Not everyone deserves the privilege of seeing your emotions bleed. Let them wonder. Let them spiral. Let them send their breadcrumbs. You're not chasing anymore. You're not replying to bait with vulnerability. You're not handing over your peace just because they miss the control. That chapter is closed, not with rage, not with bitterness, just calm, silent refusal, because nothing confuses a manipulator more than a man who doesn't react. You become unreadable, unpredictable, and that's when their control crumbles. Now, don't get it twisted. This doesn't mean you're numb. It means you're in control. You still feel, but your feelings don't make your decisions. Your standards do. You're no longer responding from desperation. You're moving from discipline. And discipline, my friends, is the death of every toxic cycle. You used to think that reacting made you human, that being emotional meant being real. But real strength is when you can feel everything and still choose silence, still choose peace, still walk away, even when your chest is on fire. That's the Stoic path. That's emotional power. That's what sets you apart. And here's something they'll never admit. When you stop reacting, you become unforgettable, because most people are used to chaos. They're used to emotional explosions. But when you don't play that game, when you meet provocation with poise, you become the mystery that keeps them awake at night. So if you've been feeding their addiction, now's the time to stop. Cut the supply. Unplug the emotional machine. Let them figure it out on their own, without you as the emotional sponsor. They don't need another text. They need silence. They need to feel the discomfort they kept avoiding. And you need peace. You need distance. You need control. Not because you're cold, but because you're finally warm enough inside to stop reaching for what freezes you. Write this in the comments. I choose control over chaos. Let it be a reminder every time you feel tempted to react. Show it to yourself. Show it to the world. You're no longer emotionally available to games, to bait, to inconsistency. You've unplugged from the matrix. And now you're walking in power. Stay with me, because next, we're going to break down why your attention is the currency they depended on, and how starving them of it is how you reclaim your throne. Number 3, the silence becomes their loudest noise. The absence of a voice once constant becomes the loudest noise they'll ever hear. At first, they won't flinch. They'll pretend your silence means nothing, that it doesn't affect them, that they're unbothered, untouched, too detached to notice. But give it time, because silence isn't an empty void, it's an echo, and that echo doesn't just vanish. It grows louder with every unanswered text, every unreturned glance, every moment they check and realize you're no longer looking back. See, folks, people think silence is passive. They think it's weakness, retreat, surrender. But real silence, the kind that comes from clarity, not confusion, is powerful. It's pressure, and that pressure starts to squeeze the parts of them that were too comfortable with your attention, too sure you'd always be there, too arrogant to think your presence could ever go missing. Imagine someone living next to a waterfall. The sound becomes background noise, constant, predictable. They stop noticing it. They assume it will always be there. Until one morning it's gone. No warning, no explanation, just stillness. And suddenly the silence is deafening. They didn't appreciate the sound until the sound disappeared. That's what you become when you pull back. A sudden stillness in their world. An eerie quiet where your energy used to live. And that silence doesn't whisper, it screams. They start asking questions they never asked when you were around. Why did he stop calling? Did I push him too far? Is he with someone else now? They try to play it cool, but the questions eat at them, because here's the truth. What they don't understand, they can't control. And when your silence offers no clues, no cracks, no windows into your heart, it drives them insane. They'll scroll through old messages, trying to find the turning point. They'll replay your voice in their mind, the things you said, the things you didn't say. They'll wonder how someone who used to care so loudly could suddenly vanish so quietly. And that's when the haunting begins. Not because you yelled, not because you begged, but because you didn't. You used to fill the air with your presence, always showing up, always reaching out, always making sure they were okay. But now you've gone still, not bitter, not angry, just absent. And absence, my friends, is a mirror, a reflection of everything they lost, everything they took for granted, everything they thought they could replace. But you didn't go silent to punish them. You went silent to protect yourself, to reclaim your energy, to stop bleeding emotionally for someone who didn't know how to stop the cut. Because you finally realized that love without respect is self-destruction, that attention without appreciation is manipulation, that staying visible to someone who only sees you when it's convenient is the slowest kind of death. So now you're gone, and now they notice. Now, every time they open their phone and your name isn't there, the silence stings. Now, every time they post and don't see your name in the likes, the silence hums. Now, every time they wonder how you are but are too prideful to ask, the silence roars. But that's the thing, silence is not your revenge. It's your return to self. It's you refusing to narrate your pain to people who never listened. It's you no longer making noise to prove your value. You don't need to be heard to be remembered. You don't need to explain to be understood. And you don't need to react to be powerful. Let them wrestle with the quiet. Let them feel the discomfort they thought you'd never let them sit in, because what they wanted was noise. Noise that kept them from facing their own guilt, their own choices, their own loss. But now you've taken that away, and what's left is silence. Cold, beautiful silence. Don't break it. Don't second-guess it. Don't let loneliness trick you into speaking when your silence is doing more damage than your words ever could, because this is what they didn't see coming. Not the anger, not the tears, the vanishing, the disappearing act, the quiet exit that left no trail to follow. And here's the twist. They won't admit they hear it. They'll keep pretending they're fine. They'll post more, smile more, fake it more. But behind those highlights is a soundtrack they can't mute. The echo of you, the sound of your calm, the haunting of a presence that's no longer there. You are not the man who reacts anymore. You are not the man who explains anymore. You are the man who vanishes with dignity, who speaks through stillness, who lets the silence do the talking. And trust me, it speaks louder than you ever imagined. Write this in the comments right now. My silence speaks volumes. Say it so you remember. Show it to the world around you. You're no longer afraid of being forgotten. You've become unforgettable through your stillness. And in the next section, we're going to expose why emotional scarcity isn't cruelty. It's a boundary, one that starves their ego and feeds your power. Stay with me. Number 4. The energy you give is sacred. Stop wasting it. Every time you give your energy to someone who doesn't value it, you're stealing from the version of you that needed it most. Let that hit where it needs to. Because this isn't about being cold. It's about being calculated. And if you've ever poured your soul into someone who only took, only drained, only received, you know exactly what I'm talking about. The worst kind of emptiness isn't being alone. It's being with someone who never fills you back up. And still, you keep giving. Still, you keep hoping. Still, you keep chasing closure from someone who never offered clarity. Why? Because no one ever taught you that your energy is sacred. They taught you how to love, but they didn't teach you how to protect your peace. They told you relationships are about giving, but forgot to mention that giving without boundaries leads to destruction. They praised your loyalty, but never warned you that loyalty to the wrong person becomes self-betrayal. You are not a source of endless comfort. You are not a bottomless cup of patience. You are not some emotional ATM they get to withdraw from whenever their ego needs a boost. You are a man with value, with vision, with worth. And your energy? That's your currency. Not everyone deserves access to it. Imagine this. You've built a fire. Took you hours. Carefully, strategically. You fed it the right wood, the right amount of air, the right amount of patience. Now it's burning bright. It gives warmth. It gives light. But someone walks up with a bucket of water and just tosses it on you. No thanks, no care, no understanding. Just drenched. And somehow you blame yourself. You think, maybe I should have burned hotter. Maybe I should have been stronger. Maybe I should have just accepted it. But no, my friends, sometimes it's not about how bright you burn. It's about who you're letting close enough to ruin the flame. You've been giving too much. To people who only show up when they're cold. To people who don't ask how the fire was built, just want to stand near it. You think if you just give more, they'll finally stay. If you just give more, they'll finally appreciate it. But more giving doesn't lead to more love. It leads to more taking. Because people don't appreciate what's always available. They exploit it. So here's the truth. You need to become unavailable, not bitter, not distant, selective. Your attention should cost something. Your energy should have a gate. You don't hand out pieces of your soul just because someone looks at you like they care. Words are cheap. Consistency is expensive, and if they're not paying the price of effort, loyalty and respect, they don't deserve access. This doesn't mean you walk around with walls so high no one gets in. It means you build gates, and you guard them. Not because you're afraid of love, but because you understand your value now. You've done the work. You've sat in silence. You've learned what your energy is worth. And now, you don't hand it to the first person who brings you attention. You wait. You observe. You watch how they show up when they don't need something from you. When you starve someone of your energy, not out of hate, but out of clarity, they start feeling the weight of their own actions. Because the truth is, they weren't addicted to you. They were addicted to the way you made them feel, the way you always showed up, the way you made excuses for them, the way you kept giving without being asked. You weren't a partner. You were their emotional crutch. And now that you're gone, they're limping. And you know what? That's not your problem anymore. They should feel the withdrawal. They should sit in the quiet. They should miss the light you used to bring. Not because you're cruel, but because you've learned that loving without boundaries isn't strength. It's slavery, and you're not a slave to anyone's approval anymore. People think power comes from being loud, from flexing, from revenge. But real power is when your absence does what your words never could. Real power is when you stop giving and they start starving. Real power is when you realize your energy is a luxury, not a lifeline. So the next time you feel that urge to reach out, to explain, to fix, pause. Ask yourself, is this person giving me energy or draining it? Because you're not here to keep sacrificing your mental clarity for someone else's comfort. You're not here to save anyone who keeps choosing chaos. You're here to protect the flame, to protect your peace, to protect your soul. Write this in the comments right now. My energy is sacred. Let that be the line you never cross again. Let it be your standard. Because when you finally learn to stop giving to the ungrateful, you unlock the version of you that's focused, powerful, magnetic, and no longer waiting for someone to notice what was already rare. Stay with me, because next, we're about to reveal why your emotional detachment isn't cruelty. It's dominance. The moment you stop reacting is the moment you rise. Number 5. The emotional detachment isn't cruelty. It's dominance. A man who can feel everything but chooses to react to nothing, that's not coldness, that's control. You've been taught that caring means reacting, That love means always showing emotion, always fighting for it, always proving how much you feel. But what they didn't teach you, my friends, is that some people don't want your love. They want your emotional exposure. They want your vulnerability not to connect, but to control. They want to know exactly where your weak spots are, so they can press them just hard enough to keep you emotionally hooked. And that's where emotional detachment becomes your shield. Not because you've stopped caring, but because you've stopped bleeding for people who only watch you suffer. They'll call you cold, they'll say you've changed, that you're different now, and they'll be right, because you have changed, you've grown, you've evolved, you've stopped making decisions based on impulse, on nostalgia, on guilt. You no longer break yourself just to keep someone else emotionally comfortable. You've learned the art of silence, the power of pause, the discipline of not letting every feeling become a response. That's not cruelty, that's evolution. Imagine standing in the middle of a storm. The winds are screaming, the rain is coming sideways, but you're just still. Not because you don't feel the storm, but because you've become grounded. You've become the mountain, not the leaf. And while they're used to men who flail, who scream, who lose themselves trying to be heard, you're now the opposite. You're the one they can't shake, the one they can't read, the one who doesn't flinch, doesn't beg, doesn't break character. That's what makes emotional detachment powerful, not because you're numb, but because you're disciplined. You still feel the anger, the sadness, the disappointment, but now it passes through you like wind through armor. It doesn't stick. It doesn't control. You've trained yourself not to hand out your emotions to people who only know how to use them against you. And here's what most won't admit. People crave emotional dominance, not the toxic kind, not manipulation, but the kind of calm control that commands respect. That doesn't need validation. That doesn't collapse when someone pulls away. You think they'll leave if you stop reacting? Maybe. But the ones who do were only there to feed off the chaos you used to provide. And when you stop feeding the fire, the ones who were never real will vanish. Good. Let them. You're not here to be understood by people who refuse to listen. You're not here to keep emotionally explaining yourself to someone who's already decided to misunderstand you. The moment you realize that detachment is a filter, not a flaw, you stop trying to prove your worth. You start being your worth. You don't engage in the push and pull anymore. You don't fall for the tests, the silent treatments, the jealousy traps. You see them clear as day, but you no longer respond. You no longer panic when someone pulls back. You let them, because your self-worth doesn't move with their approval anymore. It stays still. It stays grounded. It stays yours. They'll try to provoke you. Watch how calm you are now. They'll say things just to get a rise out of you. But you won't rise. You won't bite. Because you've learned, whoever controls your reaction controls you. And now, no one gets that access unless they've earned it. You've stopped giving the best of your emotional depth to people who only show up when they feel ignored. They used to see you as predictable, the guy who always cared, who always tried, who always showed up. But now you've gone quiet, not out of bitterness, out of clarity. They're no longer sure what you're thinking. They're no longer sure if you even care. That mystery, that unreadability, that's what haunts them. Because they were never afraid of losing you. They were afraid of losing control over you. And now they've lost both. This new version of you? He doesn't need to yell. He doesn't need to prove. He doesn't need to remind people of his worth. He just is. He feels everything, but lets go of anything that doesn't serve his peace. That's not detachment. That's power. That's presence. That's a man who no longer dances for temporary affection. You've built this new identity brick by brick. Through silence, through stillness, through heartbreak turned discipline. And now you walk into rooms differently. You don't seek attention. You command it. Not because you're loud, but because you've become untouchable, not in a way that pushes people away, but in a way that makes them realize if they want to be close to you, they have to rise too. Write this in the comments. I feel deeply, but I react rarely. Let it be your new armor. Let it be your new rhythm. Let them call you cold. Let them say you've changed. Because the truth is, you didn't get colder. You just stopped overheating for people who never brought warmth. And now that you've detached from the chaos, stay with me, because in the next section, we're going to walk into the shadows, where your greatest transformation begins, silently and without anyone seeing it coming. Number 6. The rebuilding doesn't happen loud. It happens in the shadows. They expected a breakdown, but you disappeared instead. That's when real fear sets in, when you vanish into the dark, not to hide, but to rebuild. Most people want you to rebuild where they can see you, where they can monitor your glow-up, where they can still feel involved. Why? Because visibility gives them comfort. It tells them you're still orbiting their world, even if it's just on the outskirts. But you're not here to give them comfort. You're here to reclaim yourself. And that doesn't happen under spotlights. It happens in shadows. This next phase of you, it's not public. It's not flashy. It's not for show. You don't announce your evolution. You become it. Quietly, ruthlessly, unapologetically. You don't post cryptic quotes. You don't try to look unbothered for the timeline. You unplug. You disappear. Not to prove anything, but because you've chosen growth over attention. Folks, let's get something straight. If you're rebuilding just so they can see what they lost, you're still not free. You're still chained to their perception, still trapped in the loop. Real rebuilding is when you stop needing them to watch, when their absence doesn't delay your progress, when their silence becomes irrelevant noise and your silence becomes sacred space. Imagine a tree growing deep roots underground before it ever breaks through the soil. That's you, right now, in the dark, digging, strengthening, getting ready. And while they're out there watching your old version, laughing, assuming you're stuck, you're becoming someone they won't even recognize. Not because you changed for them, but because you stopped needing them to see you in order to believe in yourself. You don't need to show your progress. You need to live it, in silence, in discomfort, in discipline. The kind of discipline that builds men other people don't know how to handle. You're not rebuilding out of pain. You're rebuilding because of it. The pain became your blueprint. It showed you where your boundaries were weak, where your standards were low, where your self-respect got compromised. This is where the real work begins, the emotional gym, where every rep is a choice, discipline over distraction, reading instead of scrolling, training instead of texting, building your business instead of breaking your silence. You stop showing up for people who don't even ask how you're doing. You stop being visible to those who only wanted you when you were bleeding. Because you're no longer bleeding, you're building. And let me tell you something, this phase is lonely. It's supposed to be. You're shedding layers, killing off habits, burying the boy so the man can rise. You're cutting ties not out of hatred, but out of necessity. Because not everyone deserves to witness your comeback. Some only earned the right to watch you fall. But the rise, that's yours, that's sacred. They'll check your page and find nothing. No hints, no drama, no desperation, just silence. That silence will mess with them more than any highlight reel ever could. Because now they have to guess, wonder, obsess, while you move in peace, while you evolve in private. And when you do return, it's not with revenge, it's with results. You walk differently, you speak less, but everything you say lands harder. You're calmer, sharper. You've stopped being reactive. You've stopped explaining. You've stopped bleeding for people who only showed up to witness your pain. Now you move like someone with purpose, someone who doesn't need closure, someone who doesn't chase updates or stalk profiles or overthink silence. You've become the silence, and now they can't escape it. Because the last version of you was easy to manipulate. This one is unreadable, unreachable, unbothered. You want to know what really breaks them. It's not the new car, it's not the new body, it's not the money. It's the emotional distance, the spiritual absence, the fact that they no longer affect you, that you've healed in a way they didn't expect. Quietly. You didn't glow up to be seen, you grew up to be free. Write this in the comments. I rebuild in silence. Say it for you. Show yourself that you don't need their eyes on you to evolve, that your validation doesn't come from being noticed. It comes from knowing who you are, who you're becoming, and what no one gets to access again unless they show up differently. Stay with me, because next we're going deeper, into the place where attraction is no longer chased. It's magnetized. You've rebuilt the core. Now let's talk about how that quiet strength starts pulling everything you once thought you had to chase. Number 7. The attraction was never meant to be chased. It was meant to be magnetized. The man who stops chasing is the man who becomes the gravity. Let's end with the truth they never told you, folks. The ones who want to be chased don't want to be loved. They want to be worshipped. They don't want connection. They want control. And the more you chase, the more they pull away, not because you're not enough, but because in their mind, they've already won. The second you start running after them, you've already given up your throne. And the second you stop, everything changes. Attraction was never meant to be a pursuit. Real attraction is stillness, its sovereignty, its presence. A lion doesn't chase mice. A king doesn't beg for a seat at a stranger's table. He builds his own damn palace and lets the world knock on his door. And that's you now, not the chaser, not the performer, not the one begging for breadcrumbs of attention. You've become the magnet, and your energy, it pulls without trying. You see, they were used to a version of you that needed approval, a version that sent double texts, that wondered, what did I do wrong? That over-explained, overgave, overstayed. But now, you've gone silent. You've stopped giving them free front-row seats to your emotions. You've shut the curtain and turned off the spotlight. You're no longer in the audience. They are. And now they're watching, silently, anxiously, wondering if the show will ever start again. But you've moved on from performance. You're building behind the scenes, healing, training, growing. And while they thought your silence was weakness, they didn't realize it was transformation. And transformed men, they don't chase, they attract, not with tricks, not with words, with presence. You become the kind of man whose life is too full to entertain confusion, too focused to follow ghosts, too grounded to be pulled into emotional whirlpools. Your attention becomes rare, and in that rarity, people feel it more than they ever did when it was constant. You no longer explain your silence. They feel it. You no longer announce your value. They notice it. And here's the twist. The very moment you stop chasing, they start craving. Why? Because chasing validates. It confirms they still have you. It reassures their ego. But when you stop responding, when you stop reaching out, when you stop giving them access to your energy, they starve, and the silence becomes unbearable. Your distance becomes a void. Your presence, once taken for granted, becomes a craving they can't satisfy. But don't fall for it. Don't return just because they noticed. That's not the goal. You didn't become stronger just to be pulled back into the game. You didn't build peace just to hand it back to chaos. Let them reach. Let them miss. Let them replay every moment in their head. Let them scroll your page in silence, wondering what you're doing, who you're with, how you became so unreachable. Because the truth is, you didn't change for them. You outgrew them. That's what magnetism really is. when your growth starts making noise, even in silence, when your stillness becomes more attractive than all your past effort, when your life gets so rich with purpose, peace, and power, they realize you're no longer someone they can reach out to on a lonely night. You've become the storm they can't predict, the silence they can't read, the memory they can't delete. So don't chase, don't explain, don't break your stillness just because they're finally starting to hear the echo of what they lost. Stay grounded, stay focused, stay in your lane. The ones meant for you will meet you there. No games, no running, no breadcrumbs, just alignment. Write this in the comments right now. I attract with presence, not pursuit. Let the world see it. Let yourself feel it. This is your new operating system. No more chasing, no more convincing, no more trying to prove your worth to someone who couldn't see it when it was right in front of them. You are no longer the storm chaser. You are the calm after it. You are no longer the noise. You are the silence that haunts, the peace that draws curiosity, the rarity that builds obsession. And remember this. Your presence was never meant to be thrown at people like spare change. It was meant to be felt like gravity, quiet, heavy, unavoidable. So if this message hit deep, if it reminded you of who you were always meant to become, then now's the time to rise. No more begging, no more noise. From this moment forward, let your silence speak, let your stillness attract, and let your new standard be this. I do not chase, I become the reason they stop running. If this resonated, show your presence by commenting below, and don't forget to share this with the men who need to hear it. The game doesn't change when they regrets it. The game changes when you remember who you are. You've finished the chase. Now begin the reign.